You're talking about rebinding the entirety of Berserk into one volume that you can carry around in your arm at all times. You're going to handcuff to yourself.
But what you have to do is, because it's for your kid, you're going to have to hand bind every volume of Berserk, but with the thick cardboard pages that baby books have. So it's gonna need to be like 30 feet thick.
Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what you do is you get if it's gonna be big enough, you get a motor on there and you get some wheels on it. And you just kind of drive it around.
Hold up. I think we're going to have to compromise on materials, right? As much as it's good for baby books to be made out of cardboard, I think if we're going to have this thing being driven around, it's going to have enough like tensile strength in its various materials to like withstand being turned. So there's going to have to be some metal and probably an engine.
It's mostly metal. Okay, I have a better idea. What if we just got like a Jeep and then we put all of Berserk on an iPad in the Jeep?
That's going to be so good. Listeners, just for context, this is our workaround to Hussein trying to figure out how he can justify buying the entire set of Berserk. And we've worked our way back to buy a Jeep and an iPad. That's
right. That's correct. I mean, all I was going to say was that I would rebind it myself, like all of Berserk, but not for my kid, but to sort of for my own purposes, which is that I'm going to take it on the tube and I'm going to like have like a big matcha in one of those like big gulp things. Yeah. And I'm going to like hang a couple of Labubus on the book itself, and I'm going to be like the ultimate performative male, but in a really confusing way. Like people will take pictures of me, and they'll be like, "Oh, look at this guy pretending to read a book, with his matcha and his labubis." But more people will just be like, "Well, okay, but why does he happen to be at the specific pages where the fucking like God hand shows up, and why is he like smiling and laughing and like shouting more and more and more at it?"
What people don't understand is that the very subway they're riding is actually the edition of Berserk that you've made.
Yeah, I really want to go on that show. The one that they do on the New York subway, the Bad Takes one.
Oh, the subway takes? Yeah.
And I do want to like explain to that guy, my take being that like, Griffith was right and like it was completely fine in the context. And in many ways, Berserk is sort of like the contemporary Lolita.
Totally agree is what he'll say into the thing.
Yeah.
If you're a New Yorker and you see subway takes being filmed, you should be allowed to like intervene as a citizen. And then get a job at like Andreessen Horowitz.
Yeah, the 21st century Bernie Getz will be a guy that sees the subway takes guy and just slaps the phone out of his hand and walks off the subway.
It just rips up that Metro card and just finally says no more.
No more.
And then, okay, if Andreessen Horowitz won't hire that person, then we will. Just rip up the Metro card. That's all we're saying.
Just the Metro card.
Yeah, just the Metro card.
Just the Metro card.
Enough pleasant chit chat. We've got business to attend to. God damn it.
Oh,
yeah, we're sitting on business.
Yeah, hey, you know what? I know all about being on business from what I learned in a little podcast called No Gods, No Mayors that I co-host with our wonderful guest, Mattie Lubchansky, also the author of Simplicity, a book that you should buy.
That's true. Both of those things are true. Sitting on Business is, of course, the name of the show that I will start filming once Subway Takes is.
Yeah. Wait, okay. If Subway Takes is just like that annoying guy, like sits down with someone and is like, hey, if it's the third date, should a girl like, wear a bra or whatever? I don't know what they talk about on Subway Takes. I assume it's that nonsense.
The guy himself is not annoying because he just has annoying people on. He's fine.
Right.
He's just sitting there and he says, what's your take? And then some person will be like, I don't think that chairs should be blue or whatever. And then he goes, I agree. And then they talk about it. Like, that's all it is.
Sure.
But sitting on business will be more interesting. I haven't thought through the entire concept yet, but I think I'm going to be making people read me their favorite passage from Berserk.
I think we could probably like work out sitting on business right now. I think like, how about this?
Okay.
It's like people would walk around and be like, oh, I hope the cash cab gets me today. Like just walking around hoping to be gotten by the cash cab.
I have a story about that.
Did you have a story of the cash cab? Did the cash cab get you?
No, the cash cab was about half of it was faked.
Oh.
Like you'd watch it and sometimes it'd be like a tourist that was like so dumb and like didn't even know like the name of the second president of America or whatever. Those people were real people that they pick up. But every time you saw somebody on Cash Cab like doing well, it's because they got recruited from local pub trivia nights. And then someone I know from college did it. And like he'd like go out on the street and like pretend to hail the cab. You ever wonder why there's footage of people hailing the cab? because it's not real. House Hunter is also fake. They've already bought the house.
I just think it'd be very funny if you're like a ringer for Cash Cab and you accidentally hail a normal cab and just wait for like the guy to start asking you questions. No, I think sitting on business is everyone gets on the famous New York City subway and then they're like, oh, I hope I meet Mattie from Sitting on Business. And then you go up, plop down on their lap, and then you say, all right.
I'm on their lap. Okay.
Yeah, because you're sitting on business and you're like, hey, what's the business we're starting? And they pitch
Riley,
you and it's like Shark Tank.
Yeah, Riley, we've known each other a long time, but we still never met in person because you live on the other side of the planet from me. I'm not small. I'm not a small person. I'm quite tall. I think if I just started sitting on people's laps, it would cause problems.
I better come up with a business then.
Yeah, that's your business problem to solve.
The timer is how long can you stand this giant woman on you?
All right. Welcome to TF, everybody. It's Riley and Hussein, and it's Mattie is joining us, subbing in because we are shorthanded because it is vacation season here in the UK, and we've all been going on holiday quite a bit. We've got a lot to talk about today. Some stuff we are not going to get to that you might say, hey, that seems pertinent to the TF people to talk about. Quite simply because there is not enough hour in the hour. And we had to, look, that Cash Cab material is not getting cut. All right? We're not going to do, look, no matter what you think we should be making room for, the Cash Cab stays. No, so Mattie is joining us, of course, from the podcast No Gods, No Mayors, to talk about what is quickly becoming one of the most mayoral weeks in possibly American or global history. It is things are getting extraordinarily municipal in the New York City mayoral election that we are watching, of course, between a socialist who knows how to speak to people and discuss their actual needs, an aged alien who seems to be terrified of setting foot in the city and has never spoken to a person who he cannot fire, and then Eric Adams, a man who, in your immortal words, acts like he's been struck by lightning twice.
And also, you're forgetting a vigilante wearing the same uniform for 40 years.
Yes, of course.
Who's obsessed with cats.
How could I forget Curtis Sliwa? And but before we get into the mayoral business, before we start sitting on mayoral business, doing our best Dalton, Illinois impression, I wanted to also just mention that over in the UK, and we might sort of go into more detail on this in the bonus episode, Nigel Farage has announced his plans to essentially build the camps, and the response from the Keir Starmer sort of government.
Putting government in scare quotes.
Yeah, from the Keir Starmer, quote unquote, from the Delivery Organization for Reform Policies, essentially is we agree. We think that it's fine to send everyone to, Rwanda was too nice. We all agreed Rwanda was too nice. Maybe Afghanistan should be where we send people. But then said, we don't think that, this is going to be cost effective. On the returns deal with Afghanistan, Yvette Cooper said, Reform's Taliban tribute plan would send British taxpayers cash to fund the regime, fueling the persecution of Afghan women and children and betraying our brave armed forces who sacrificed so much fighting them. So that's right. You will betray. Hey, if you think you're a real patriot and you love the troops, which is what, again, we're just deluding ourselves into thinking that that's what patriotism as it's commonly felt by most quote unquote patriotic people actually is, then yeah, that's going to be a fantastic attack line. But yeah, Keir Starmer basically just coming up there and basically making Mr. Me Too by Clips the theme song of this government.
Just taking it as received wisdom that what they're doing is the thing that has to be done. We have to send people away to a country we've all agreed is bad, to punish people for trying to move to the country. They've just been that is what we have to do, and they're not doing it correctly. It'll cost too much money the way that they're doing it, and it's not. The things I want to say about them, I probably should not on air with a British podcast.
Yeah, because it's basically like a sort of gleeful campaign that's being indulged by everybody who matters in Britain. Reform with its 4 MPs gets 2 hours of uninterrupted time to just broadcast on the BBC their plan to terrorize non-white people, to continue rolling back civil liberties by ripping up every treaty that we're signed up to that would prevent us from just kind of doing anything we want to get someone out of the country that the government decides it doesn't like. And then Keir Starmer is just it costs too much. What are you going to betray the army by giving money to the Taliban? Ugh, God.
it's very frustrating. And I think also like looking at it in the context of like what's happening domestically, which is also like not good, surprisingly. I'm not sure if any of you have experienced it, but like, you know, the high street, you know, near my house, like there were like a lot of England flags up on lampposts over the weekend. And this was like part of a pattern. There's like, you know, I don't know if it's like a group in and of themselves, but like, you know, there's sort of supporters of, you know, like far right groups and just like, you know, broader far right movement have been erecting like lots of box fresh flags around the country's many beautiful motorways. I had to do a trip on one of these motorways over the weekend, and I think I counted 35 on an hour and a half trip. So like all of which is saying that like it has gained some traction. It's not difficult to sort of know like how widespread it is. We don't know like, you know, who's sort of doing it or what, but like we are seeing kind of like politicians like in the Tory party like either very ardently supporting what's going on and like putting up flags themselves, but also like the government kind of just being like, well, yeah, these are just like ordinary patriots who are really afraid of like, you know, the people living in their sort of like lackluster hotels that they've sort of just discovered kind of exists in their town now, which is very true. Like, you know, I was watching some of the interviews with like far right demonstrators outside of like hotels where, you know, migrants are sort of put up, and it's not like it's being portrayed as like, oh, they're being put up in these luxury hotels, to which I would say, number one, go visit a hotel in England outside of London, and then tell me whether you think that's a luxury hotel or not. This is also very indicative of like anti-migrant sentiment pre all these marches, right? Because like the unwillingness to kind of like provide a passage for applying for asylum, and also sort of being like, okay, well, in order to sort of meet our sort of obligations on a very minimal way, we have to kind of like house people while they apply. We're not going to let them work. We're not going to let them sort of participate in like local communities or local societies. So the expectation is that like they should just sort of stay in these like very tiny non-air conditioned rooms where you can barely open the window, and they should just sort of like be quiet and not do anything at all. But also we're going to get really mad at them if they do that as well, because like they don't work and like they don't contribute or anything, and you know, all that type of stuff. Like, so this is already like an existing hostile environment that this country like and successive governments have sort of put like people applying for asylum and for residency like in anyway. Now, you know, as far right sentiment kind of continues to grow in this country and continues to be both not even unchecked but to be like supported across the parties, it has sort of given license to groups like Reform to really capitalize what they see as like the trajectory that they need to take in order to maintain their quite sizable lead in the country. And so as a result, we get a situation where, you know, Nigel Farage basically is able to sort of go on public TV with a big union flag behind him and lit very darkly. You know, it's very much like I was watching this and I was just like, I've really got to hand it to Russell T Davies. Like he, you know what? I'm sorry we said anything bad about you. I'm sorry that like we refuse to live out. Like I'm living out right now. You were right. You handed our asses to us. I'm very sorry that we made fun of you. You know, but it is also like a very kind of like scary, you know, what we are sort of seeing is the ascendance of a very nasty version of like ethno right wing. I mean, not to say that there was ever a nice version of it, but what we are seeing is a very nasty, very powerful version of ethno nationalist fervor that I think political parties, both Labour and the Tories, like are both unable but also unwilling to kind of counter it, right? Because they've spent so long capitulating to these political reactionaries and basically so long kind of saying, but yeah, like all these guys, you know, yeah, there might be some things we disagree with in terms of like how they behave towards other people, but we don't disagree with their sentiment, right? And, you know, we should also like sort of see this in the wake of like, you know, last year in the summer, we had like, we had actual race riots where these groups like tried to burn down hotels, and they are like continuing to do so, or they are continuing to at least like try and like, you know, do that. They are targeting mostly like brown Muslim people. And I think it's really good that basically like we've had radio silence from government, opposition, and really just more appeasement, right? And so this is going to end really, really well. I think it's going to like end very peacefully. I think Keir Starmer is going to like come up with a solution that pleases everyone rather than makes everyone, because this is the other thing too. Like I think Starmer's stuff is so funny in one way because like clearly what he's doing is very ghoulish, and he does sort of like, you know, he is not like pro-refugee or pro-asylum seeker in any measure at all, right? In any, like he is very much a political opportunist who has kind of decided to just like play to whatever field he believes kind of benefits him. But as a result, because he's never going to be able to sort of like match the Reform rhetoric, right? Without sort of going full like, we're going to shoot down every boat and every dinghy in the channel. Like he's not going to do that. And so he's desperately trying to come up with like a sensible solution, but he's trying to placate a crowd that like they want to see the ding. They want to see like helicopters like dropping bombs on these people. They want to see asylum like hotels being burnt down. They want to see like punishment and pain. And Reform have basically kind of like stepped up to that demand and presented like the first iteration of a mass deportation strategy, which will continue to sort of get worse and worse and worse.
And Labor is already saying, okay, we'll change the ECHR. We'll change the Human Rights Act. We'll change all that stuff.
Yeah, I was watching a very good YouTube essay by Tom Nicholas, who listeners might know about. And he's done this very interesting essay looking at like the past 10 to 15 years of British politics and like looking at Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage and like how their sort of political ascendancy came out of like post-austerity environment or like the austerity environments. And I think one of the things that he did really well was sort of to look at the Brexit years. And the one thing that Tom sort of points out is that like Nigel Farage was never able to sort of like achieve any sort of parliamentary political success, at least until recently anyway. And he was written off for a very long time. But what he was aware of and something that I think about a lot is like to be successful in British politics anyway, the best thing you can do is basically be annoying, right? You can be an annoying person who's on TV and radio all the fucking time. And Farage like really, really knew how to do that very well. And then he was also able to figure out that like, oh, he can achieve his political ambitions without really having to play the game. Whereas Keir Starmer like felt like he had to sort of play the game, become part of the establishment in order to sort of achieve his political ambitions. And as a result, what we are basically seeing is sort of some of the Brexit playbook being played all over again, with Farage realizing that like it doesn't really matter. You don't need to sort of like become an MP. You don't need to become a lawmaker. You don't need to sort of like even have any sort of particular position within the establishment that, they are both clearly part of. All you need to do is sort of be annoying, be around all the time, be very present all the time, and keep on just like demanding more and more outrageous things until they have to be engaged with. And in the same way that like his version of a Brexit basically was forced into play by, there were lots of things that kind of forced that, but like his presence was enough to kind of force that through. The same strategy is being played again, but in a much more accelerated environment, and where the audience and the crowd that are like you are trying to appease are like more radicalized than ever.
That all sounds really, really awful and terrifying and bodes poorly for the future. But have you considered that a asylum seeker might be in the hotel room from Trainspotting for free?
Yeah.
That's so true. Someone was saying that like some sort of politician was saying, but like, oh, like my constituents are really angry that like, they can't afford like a 2-week hotel stay, but these asylum seekers get it for free. And my thinking was like, are any of them trying to like spend 2 weeks in like a fucking Premier in like Newcastle, like in some shithole in Newcastle?
You'd be lucky to get a Premier in. Usually these are places that would have been like, these would have been hotels that were not really economically viable.
These refugees are preventing me from cheating on my wife at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon in one of those hotels by a service station.
Yeah. Like, I think that this is something we've seen, and we've seen that this is all really just feedback loops, and no one is willing to break with no one can really, because they're all stuck, because everybody who values the rules of the game is following the one person who doesn't, and then they protect that one person. These are just creating endless feedback loops that are basically can't be stopped, because the demands will always be more. However, in terms of demand, Mattie, I have a demand from you.
Oh,
which is I would love a snack.
Oh,
if you could please give me one.
Oh, sure. I've got a bag here of delicious Hers brand sour cream and onion potato chips for you. If you would simply look inside, you'll find chips and a little something else, right?
The best bribe ever, $160.
$160. With that, you could get upwards of 30 bags of chips, I think.
Wouldn't the cash notes, wouldn't they like be a bit greasy?
No, they were in an envelope.
They're in an envelope.
Sir, please.
Hussein.
Right. So the envelope was probably greasy,
Yes,
but
I think probably.
Yeah, what I love about this is that, you can introduce it first, but the thing that I keep thinking about is how the New York Times saw it happening for months and did not report it.
Yeah, well, so basically what we're talking about is, of course, America's other mayor, Eric Adams.
Yeah.
He should call himself Eric as mayor. That's what I think he should do.
He should change all of his branding to just like Eric for mayor. Yeah. We all know who he's talking about.
Yeah. So Eric as mayor has one of his close associates, Winnie Grieco, his head of Asian American outreach at City Hall, or erstwhile now. She's been removed from her position for bribing.
This is the second position she's been removed from. I'll say, you can really, if you go listen to the No Gods, No Mayors episodes on Eric Adams, we talk about we go through his his rogues gallery of employees and assistants and associates. And Grieco was someone who worked officially on his campaigns in the previous campaign, campaign who was investigated by the city because campaign volunteers were helping remodel her home. And then later she was raided by the FBI for allegedly running a straw donor scheme out of the New World Mall in Flushing. And she was like working out of an office there doing work for the campaign officially. And then also allegedly making employees at the mall donate to the Adams campaign, and then the mall would reimburse them. So then she was demoted from like official someone on the actual campaign and in the administration to this time around only the special advisor to the mayor and the director of Asian affairs or whatever, like the outreach to the Asian American community of the city, who apparently has been giving reporters small bribes for coming to events for months and months, and tried to do it to a reporter at the city.
Well, I think that she did it to a very hostile reporter against Eric Adams, and I think she forgot who she was talking to.
Like, I think, I think, what's it called? I think she might have thought that it was like a reporter from the city, and she thought it was someone from like the New York City government or something.
Like, who does like Albany's in-house magazine for like the State House?
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love her response, which is, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. It's a culture thing. I don't know. I don't understand. I'm so sorry. I feel so bad right now. Yeah, it's like giving small envelopes of money if it's like good luck in Chinese culture.
And like a red envelope is a very common thing. But
Chinese century,
but
baby.
This is America, and these are journalists, and you can't do that. And crucially, she tried to do it to Katie Honan, who's like a real fucking local reporter who is an actual motherfucker about this. And it's so funny. By the way, just real quick, The City, a very good local resource for news here, who we can thank, of course, Craig from Craigslist for funding.
Well, I mean, what I love about this is it's like if Spiro Agnew gave a roll of quarters to Woodward and Bernstein, being like, hey, Frank, why don't we forget about all this stuff, huh? There's another roll of quarters where that came from.
Yeah, I love that she gave the envelope to Honan, and then immediately, and then Honan was like, hey, you gave me, I can't take this. And then she immediately started calling the newspaper and being like, I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, honey. Yeah. I just want to make one good friend. Please don't do nothing in the news, nothing about me.
I just wanted to have one. I'm hoping one day that I can just give. It's like she's played like Crusader Kings 3 and she's just trying to buy like opinion, just trying to buy reputation. Yeah. And then I also love that, like, after this is someone, this person who's like been done for corruption multiple times, keeps getting referred to by like Eric Adams or Ingrid Lewis Martin as like my sister, the person I love so much and could not do without, who I trust with everything.
Yeah. Ingrid Lewis Martin, who of course was also indicted again.
Ingrid Lewis Martin loves getting indicted.
She loves it.
The table of success is people are leaving it. It is rapidly emptying.
Yeah, the hater waiters have stopped serving. They've cut everybody off. Yeah. The haters are in control.
So yeah, Lewis Martin just also keeps getting prosecuted. We're going to go into this on more detail on No Cause No Mayors, of course, but there are a few very TFE elements to the sort of ongoing Eric Adams stories. But quickly, what I love is, so she basically is accused of receiving bribes to like help businesses get permits and so on.
It's illegal to have friends, Your Honor?
Well, Lewis Martin's attorney, Arthur Idala, disparaged the seriousness of the charges, calling them the lowest level of felony in our justice system. Barely a felony at all. Basically not a felony. Yeah. Only technically a felony. Going on, her only so-called offense was fulfilling her duty, helping fellow citizens navigate the city's outdated and overwhelming bureaucracy.
For a small fee.
Well, at no point did she receive a single dollar or personal benefit for her assistance. Yet the district attorney seeks to portray a dedicated and honest public servant as a criminal. I guess she just won all those Lamborghinis in a card game. Of course. And of course, Eric Adams, being Eric Adams, responded in a totally unpredictable way. He hung out Grieco to dry, right? He was like, I have no knowledge of Winnie Grieco giving small amounts of money to reporters in chip bags. And I would never authorize anyone to do that. But then with Ingrid Lewis Martin, he was like, yeah, Ingrid's my sister. I love her. I trust her with everything.
It makes sense because like Winnie Greco seems to be the sort of
She's
just like
disposable,
small time nobody that he keeps around. That's just sort of dispatched to do the sort of things that she does. And like, and maybe it was a genuine cultural misunderstanding without understanding what a journalist is or does. But like, that's not Eric Adams's style, is to be giving away $160 here and there. You know, his style is more like, you know, Lamborghini of mysterious origin. That's way more his vibe.
What I also like is Eric Adams also obviously keeps getting asked about all of the people who work for him who keep getting done for corruption. Another staffer turned defendant, Jesse Hamilton, left his job handling city leases following another separate indictment. First Deputy Mayor Randy Mastro, who was officially appointed to the administration in March after other deputies resigned in protest, said, "We shouldn't be dwelling on the past," referring to the accusations as ancient history, even though the alleged criminal behavior took place last year. It's like just like showing up to a deposition being like, the reason they call it the present is because it's a gift, Your Honor. Nothing is written. That's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
He says, "I'm not going to remain silent when the ancient conduct of people who are no longer in government is being used to smear the government and City Hall and an administration which is producing every day for New Yorkers."
The ancient conduct.
Yeah, the ancient. Who can remember? Who can remember the hallowed antiquity of 2024?
I remember 2024. I believe I was sitting with my my friend at the ziggurat playing the royal game of
Yeah. Oh God. I didn't really expect it in 2024 when they changed the basket that the temple uses to collect grain tithes. They made it slightly bigger.
Yeah.
And I thought, look, it's the thing is, Nebuchadnezzar said he was not going to raise taxes, and he didn't raise taxes, but he did make the basket to collect them bigger.
Yeah, where was I on this day in 2024? I think I was out at the store buying a new reed to press into the clay tablets to write in linear B, I think. To total up to total up the sort of how much barley I had harvested that year.
I was buying a new reed to write in the clay tablets that I co-write with my friends about the various sort of devices that the temple has cooked up in order to they say it makes farming more efficient, but actually, if you look at it, it's not even like a golem. There's just a guy in there. Or then my other show that I write on clay tablets with reeds about various sort of local satraps.
Yeah, about like what's actually going on inside the Temple of Inanna. Yeah. It's a little more sinister than you'd think, and if you would just read the tablets that I've been writing, that'd be great.
So, but the very TF-y thing about it, actually, I wanted to go into, and this is actually a recent update from 404 Media, so thank you to them, which is that Citizen, the app that you use to be a vigilante. Are you all familiar with Citizen app?
Yeah, the app that drives you crazy.
Yeah.
The app that basically turns you into the protagonist from the movie Falling Down, but like a version of that where you don't leave your house, you just sort of call the police every 10 minutes.
It's the you've seen the Batman Forever. It's like the Riddler device, but it's pumping Fox News into your brain essentially.
Yes.
Oh, sick. Okay.
And so Citizen, it used to be called Vigilante, and then they changed the name.
Did it really?
It really did used to be called Vigilante. Then they changed the name because they were like, oh, that's super illegal. It would be like calling a gun Riley's gun, subtitle, for murdering people, right? For murdering people with malice aforethought. Get it today. Anyway, so Citizen has this new formal partnership with New York City that was announced by Eric Adams in the most Eric Adams way possible. Mattie, I really hope that you actually don't know how this was announced because I really want to tell you and have it be fresh in your mind.
I actually did not see this.
Okay. So the head of Citizen's head of community, a man named Prince Mapp. No, thank you.
That's not his name.
Prince Mapp announced that they were going to create that Eric Adams was allowing Citizen to create a city-run account called New York City Public Safety. This was announced in an Instagram post by Eric Adams that simply opens with him doing pull-ups on a street sign.
Oh, that's awesome. Eric Adams, whose big new thing in the campaign is to show off how strong he is. Mm-hmm. He was like doing bent presses the other day, and so I guess Zoran was like doing them at a park at like some event and like didn't lift as much as Eric Adams, and Eric Adams is like, he can't handle lifting. How's he supposed to handle the city?
That's the thing. It's like, look, what if we wanted to like take the first two things we talked about today and kind of slam them together? We can see in both cases what it looks like in a polity where a politician is writing the narrative from the right and one where one is writing the narrative from the left. Mm-hmm. Where one is writing the narrative from the left and guys like Adams and Cuomo essentially, and Sliwa, I suppose, just acting like the three stooges, cannot stop tripping over one another, trying to say whatever normal thing Mamdani does is embarrassing, and then just doing increasingly bizarre and outlandish stunts. Like Eric Adams, who's been accused of sexual assault, I believe, believed by multiple women, leaving rape whistles out on all the female reporters' chairs at an Andrew Cuomo press event.
That's
you
right.
know, like
nothing was just more of a little like of a synecdoche of this weirdness than the other day during like the scavenger hunt that Zoran did. If you saw it, it was like just a big campaign event, right? That ended with like a meet and greet, where it's like you had to go to a couple of like New York history places and you got like a punch card, whatever. And
he successfully got everyone to Pokemon Go.
Yeah, like basically, yeah, everyone did Pokemon Go to the polls. And watching all day, it was like everybody was like posting about online, and all day the Cuomo and Adams campaigns were just like, this shows you why he can't be the mayor. He's gonna, and Adams like posted a photo of like the Squid Game robot rather in Times Square. It's like, he's gonna turn New York City into Squid Games.
That's true. It's because if you did Zoran's scavenger hunt and you didn't finish it in time, he had you killed.
He's gonna kill you. And then it was like just like people trying to take this thing that's like quite wholesome and like, you know, I didn't do it because it's not for me, but like, you know, this thing that is like kind of just like wholesome and just a regular ass campaign event to like show the how many people are like behind the campaign, right? Like a show of force, to take that and be like, this is dangerous, or this is like shows you he's bad or something. And it's just sort of like you have no control over the narrative, and these people are just flailing insanely and doing pull-ups, I guess, instead about it.
These guys have utterly lost control of the narrative, as has Keir Starmer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the difference is like there's someone desperately trying to react to and follow a revolutionary fascist who wants to build the camps versus trying to react to and follow while being two of the most off-putting and strange people in all of politics, a normal, pleasant guy. Essentially, and it results in you know, the whistle stunt and doing pull-ups to announce that you're partnering with the Vigilante app for New Yorkers.
I mean, one of the most obvious things that sort of seems to be like, you know, you actually have to sort of like stand for something, and you actually have to believe in something yourself, right? And when I think about like stuff in the UK, it's like, okay, well, like Farage, like genuinely, I'm not saying that he's sort of like a genuine and authentic guy, because like he is very much like a political, you know, he is like an opportunist, and you know, he sort of has understood where a certain political tendency of a direction is going, but he can at least like sort of perform like a genuine belief in a desire to like inflict pain and punishment and, you know, deportations and all that stuff. And like Zoran, like his campaign, as far as I'm aware, is just like, oh, we can make things slightly better, and like, you know, we should do that, and that might be good actually. But my impression of like Cuomo and like Adams is like, well, even if you want to say that actually this is bad and things should be worse or things should be bad, like you're not really directly saying that. And in that way, it's also like Keir Starmer, who's just again like very much like the guy who like tries to sort of portray himself as like a sensible, moderate centrist, and the result is everyone gets mad at him. There is a sort of this sense of like, well, you actually do have to figure out what you want.
Yeah, like I think it's interesting to watch, like, you know, the government in the UK and the Democrats writ large in America, this sort of thing where it's like the you know, the answers are obviously bad, but the right wing is providing answers to the problems, right? They are putting forth solutions, and they are evil and they are fascist and they are like the absolute worst case scenario for like the future of the planet in all ways, but they are providing like something. And I think it's interesting to watch in the New York City mayoral race. I think why it's captured a lot of attention and imagination is that like you have people who are not providing answers, like Adams, like Cuomo, and who are, you know, ostensibly Democrats, and they don't have anything to say. They don't have any answers. They don't have a vision, and just how easily that falls apart into nothing, into like a landslide loss when it's faced with someone with a vision from the left in this instance. Like it just it's almost like people can tell when you don't stand for anything, you know? And
also, right, like just moving back onto like the things that Adams, you know, does stand for. I mean, like if you look at the Citizen, this thing he's partnering with, right? This is there's now reports that Citizen is using a generative AI to generate crime alerts with no human review.
Good.
And is making a lot. So this is what New York is partnering with. The news came as Citizen recently laid off more than a dozen, and this is the article in 404 Media, unionized employees. Don't really know how much we care about the erstwhile cops, but there we go. With sources believing the firings are related to Citizen's increased use of AI and shifting tasks to overseas workers, which, as we sort of have seen with a lot of AI transformations, a lot of it is just shifting tasks to overseas workers.
You know, the first stop is always mechanical Istanbul, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. So the AI basically captures packages and ships out an initial notification without input. It's then the job of human reviewers to go in and add context from subsequent clips or edit information out, which means that this only happens after the alert is pushed to all of citizens users in that area. So, for example, sources said the AI made mistakes and included information it shouldn't have. The AI, for example, translated motor vehicle accident to murder vehicle accident. And then I guess whatever group chat the AI was in had its name changed to murder vehicle accident.
This motherfucker just wrote murder vehicle accident.
It would add gory or sensitive details that were not always true, like saying person shot in face, or including a person's license plate details in an unconfirmed report. And again, it's not like people haven't used Citizen for that before. Prince Map once revealed someone's fucking license plate during an LA manhunt that was just like, here's the guy, let's get him. And then it wasn't the guy, right? And that's what Eric Adams stands for, which is more fear of crime, more sensationalist violence that sort of begets more state violence, more like just, local authoritarianism, right? That's what he stands for.
Yeah, he stands for more cops and letting, capital and specifically tech capital do whatever they want within the bounds of the city. The other big thing that he announced is a Waymo pilot program. They're driving around Manhattan now, which is just the traffic patterns of New York City are it's not going to work. It's going to result in dead people probably, or hopefully dead cars, murdered vehicles.
Yeah. And that's but if you are going to be Eric Adams and you're going to stand for nothing, then you're going to stand just for authority in general, then what you are going to need things like Citizen, just the authoritarians of the past have used their mass media to their advantage. But if you're Eric Adams and you're a fundamentally weird guy, then you need this sort of distributed mass stochastic media to get people freaked out enough that they're going to sign up to whatever baffling nonsense that you end up supporting, right? So it's this is in so many ways, right? Again, on both sides of the Atlantic, we are seeing something come up against nothing. And we're seeing nothing just get totally trounced by something, thus far, anything can change.
Yeah, the other explanation for how he's acting is probably he I don't know if he knows he's going to lose or not legitimately, because
he's definitely being protected from that information.
Yeah, he's just every time a poll comes out, it's Zoran landslide, no matter what scenario of who pulls out of the race or not. And he's winning in almost every scenario. And that's, and the polls were I don't know if people remember, but during the primaries, Zoran massively overperformed what the polls were saying because of who was voting for him and who gets collected in a poll, right? And so I just there's no, God, I'm knocking on wood here, because if Eric Adams wins again, I'm going to do something inadvisable. But he's going to lose again badly, and he's going to lose badly, rather, Adams. And I don't know if he knows that or not. He might be operating like he thinks he's going to win, but once he's out, he's going to go on he's going to go get a job with one of the cop tech companies, right? He has that's the only place for him to go.
He's going to go work for Citizen.
Yeah, I was going to say he's going to go work for Citizen. Yeah. He's going to go work for the company that makes the drones that smashes your windows or whatever. That's where he will go.
I don't know. I think there's a part of me that's convinced that he's going to try to do a really weird career change. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Cuomo will do, but I do think that Eric Adams might. There is something in him that's going to be I'm going to go to clown school or something. I'm going to go I'm going to go get really jacked. That's going to be the starting point. I'm going to go get really jacked. I'm going to get a 9-pack or something. I'm going to sort of figure it out from there. He might sort of do the podcast circuit for a little bit, and then he might get some sort of nominal job at a cop tech company, but one where his main job is just to sort of do his posts.
Oh, he'd be the brand ambassador for Axon tasers, basically. Yeah,
and he'd tase himself, and he'd be I had a great time.
It was I tased myself instead of having a coffee every morning. That's why I'm like this.
I think there's a part of me that reminds me, but the part of me whenever I see Eric Adams stuff, which is just this feels spiritually very Matt Hancock.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think in terms of synthesis, I think he's going to invent the first new Commedia dell'arte character in 300 years. And it's going to be a jacked clown who's also a cop.
He's going to be on the subway. He's going to be on the subway reading Berserk and hoping that the guy who does subway takes is going to come and ask him a question.
Oh, you know what? Here's the thing is I would love to see a post-mayoralty Eric Adams do subway takes. I would actually think, I think that would be good.
I think what's going to happen is that we're going to see a January 6th of the most bribed city officials in all of history occupying City Hall and preventing a peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah, I'm a guard at a City Hall, and I hear the jangling as hundreds of people with their socks full of change come running down the fucking street at me.
As like I see like 14 Lamborghinis all double parked in the middle of the street as different like mid-level city planning employees get out of them and occupy the building until Eric Adams is allowed to stay in power. No, also I forgot to say earlier, a popular bag of chips with many locations. Something as simple as $160, etc., etc. Go back and pretend I said that earlier.
Okay.
Thank you everybody.
Joke,
yeah. Oh, thank you. Anyway, look, I'm so fascinated by everything that I guess I'm fascinated by seeing what it looks like for someone to be leading from the left in this way in the States or in any English speaking country where his opponents and party insiders and the press have not yet been able to conspire to rat fuck him.
They've been trying to fuck him so bad, and every single and maybe it is because it is probably something so simple as he smiles a lot and is handsome and is kind of bubbly and interpersonally, but like every single attack on him comes off as that one R. Crumb cartoon where it's like a normal this guy just getting, I hate that motherfucker, and it's just like a gross, smelly man, and it's just like normal, and it's like, and his response to everything is, well, I'm just hanging out, right? Like it's just like every attack just like slips right off of him, and I think it's because I think it is the first campaign for anything that I can remember in my life where someone is running from the left, which narrows it down to like all of 4 campaigns I've actually watched closely, where there's an actual leftist candidate, but so much of it boils down to is that he doesn't engage with the rat fuck. Mm-hmm. They try to hit him with something silly, and he doesn't even like deny it. He doesn't even respond to it. He just says like, "That's crazy. Your apartment's really expensive, right?" And like I think that's a really good model moving forward for like when we enter the fucking silly season every time. Like the answer to will you nationalize sausages isn't like talking about it. It's like it's a serious question. It's like
this is actually like it's a really good point, because it's just like even all the sort of attacks that have been placed on him, like, and where I would sort of expect okay, like his campaign is they've got to say something, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a defense. It can be like, this is just a ridiculous statement. And actually like the fact that they haven't engaged with it at all, and by extension like they haven't engaged with like I don't know what it's like in terms of like New York media and politics and how like intertwined they both are, but my impression is that like the candidates who sort of like do play within that system kind of like are more prone to being rat fucked, because like they have a perception of the game that is very much like, oh, you do need to like appease the media and you do need to sort of appease this ecosystem, that like you don't really have to. And I think when I think back in like, and it's not to sort of say that like it's like for like, because we have a different sort of ecosystem in our, like in the UK, like media has a lot of like, some media has like a lot of power, a lot of outsized power that is like can be very difficult to like shake off, or it can be very difficult to thwart. And I think, I imagine that like one of the sort of critiques that many people have about like the Corbyn years was very much like, oh, okay, you indulged in, playing the sort of, playing with like the media and like their game, thinking that like either you could get them on side or at least you could best them. And the reality is like you weren't really able to. And you can see that like with people like Zara Sultana, who have kind of are starting to kind of like basically be like, no, you guys are fucking idiots, and I don't need to sort of like engage with you in any sort of, especially not on the terms that you set. And so it'd be interesting to sort of see whether like the sort of lessons from that campaign, especially if it's successful, whether that might be a source of inspiration for left-wing movements like in the UK and in Europe. And I'm not entirely convinced. I mean, I'm sure they'll try, and I'm not entirely convinced how successful it will be. But I do think that like, at least in like what we've seen in New York, there is sort of something to be said about like this millennial candidate who like also has operated within like different media ecosystems and is able to sort of take part and participate in a media ecosystem that like the sort of standard press, like the New York Times and the New York Post and stuff, like aren't really able to engage with.
Yeah.
Or it's not like necessarily, there's not like necessarily like a dependent relationship. Like Zoran's kind of like media, like his sort of like the decisions that he's making in terms of like where he goes and what interviews he does can sort of exist independently of like what the establishment media kind of like think he ought to do or who ought to be engaged with.
Yeah. And I think it's also a matter of like so much of the campaign so far has been trying to activate people who haven't voted in the past, right? And which is most people, especially in these local elections. And, like you think about the actual vote totals, but that made Eric Adams the mayor. It's crazy small compared to the population of the city. And I think it's just a matter of like the people they are trying to activate to vote, to get involved, don't give a shit what the New York Post says that much, right? Like it is not important and can like just tell when someone's being rat fucked. Like it's you see a New York Post headline that, I'm not even going to attempt to do one because they're so much better at it than I am. But like, you see a New York Times headline that's like, oh, his college application had the wrong race or whatever. And then you watch like a single video where he's talking. You're like, who fucking cares what they say? This guy's nice. I think it might be as simple as that.
I guess the lesson, of course, is be normal and be contemptuous of people who are trying to be weird at you. Basically, do something normal. And then when they're weird, be like, that's weird. And that's how you can lead from the left. Look, there's a lot we still have to cover that we're going to cover on the bonus episode. Like, for example, some recent OpenAI and Intel stories, both about the company itself, how people have been using it to help them end their own lives, like this sort of about the teenage boy. However, I have decided I've made an executive decision.
Oh,
I've watched the movie Executive Decision, and I have used that to inspire an executive decision. I want to talk about NEOM with you, my dear friends.
I would love to talk about NEOM. It's the New York City of SETI, right?
Everybody knows Trojena is the first stop. Now, I always want to remind not just my co-host, but most of the people listening, NEOM is the name of a province. The line is just one of the many cities of the province of NEOM, right? There are lots of places.
Hey, Riley, not me, because I can't draw like that, but I need you to commission like a fantasy style map of NEOM.
Oh, that would be a great t-shirt. Okay, I'm going to remember that.
Just remember that for later. Leave this in.
There was the Saudis did commission an optimistic sci-fi book set in NEOM.
Yeah, I need to see like the inset of like the opening of a fantasy novel, like a Tolkien style drawing of NEOM of everything there, like with all the stuff built.
Yeah, because there's the line, there's of course Sindala Island, the most normal thing that they also weren't able to build.
Yeah, there's like isn't there like the resort? There's like the mountain one.
Well, that happens to be our subject today.
That's my favorite one.
So, Mattie, what do you like about Trojena, the famous ski resort and vertical village that's in the desert?
It just is the one that looks the most fake when you look at the renderings. Mm-hmm. Like the line is so obviously stupid, but they could build like 10 buildings across from each other and be like, if there it is, everybody, the line. Like what's it called? The mountain one?
Trojena. It's called Trojena.
Trojena looks like it looks like a rendering from a movie that will never get made. Like it looks like one of the drawings you see that like John Trumbull made for fucking the Jodorowsky Dune. Like it looks totally fucking made up in a way that I just love so much.
But it looks so made up and kind of like dark and splotchy in the way that like, Captain America 4 would be shooting laser beams like flying around it. It feels like a Marvel setting.
It doesn't look cool.
Yeah.
It looks like you gave someone like Blender and then you hit them in the head with a hammer and you're like, make Hobbiton in there.
Please, can you have a gigantic lake, but crucially, can the lake come to a perfect right angle and have a lake amount of water in it?
There's the rendering that is on the NEOM website that I'm looking at. That is the right angle lake.
That lake would explode immediately. There's no way it would hold together. All of the pressure would come to that one point.
Neo Trojena is about to EXPLODE. No, but like the right angle lake drawing that says like 1,400 kilometer mountain region, 2,600 maximum elevation, one lifestyle management resort. It looks like the opening to like a Tony Hawk level, like they're zooming in. It's really good.
Yeah, only in NEOM can you manual for 14 hours and get a score of over 20 million.
Yeah. Oh, I'm watching the video now. This fucking rips.
I fucking love Trojena. So we all know, we've talked a great deal about NEOM. We know how they're going to be the best place the men's football World Cup was ever hosted, and by 2034, they're basically the best city in the entire world. But we've neglected to talk about how in 2029, in 4 short years, or 3.5 really short years, they're going to have to host the Asian Winter Games at Trojena, which they can't build. They can't build it at all.
Wait, Riley, are you telling me that they can't build in the middle of the desert a big crystal spire with a bunch of like a big flared base of a bunch of other little crystals kind of coming out of the mountain magically?
Well, they're struggling.
That's not a real building that they're building?
Well, Yes,
Okay.
but up to a point, I think is what I would say is, yes, it's all correct up to a point.
Okay.
But in another way, they are not building it.
Okay. Tell me more about that.
So this is from the FT. And remember, the deadline for this being open for the world's eyes on the Asian Winter Games in 2029 is 2029. So Trojena, the futuristic ski facility that forms part of Saudi Arabia's NEOM mega project, is still under construction and, wouldn't you know it, faces escalating engineering and logistical hurdles.
Oh?
Multiple people have said the Trojena complex would not be completed on time without substantially increasing its budget. And it will include 30 kilometers of ski runs with artificial snow from December to March. Because it obviously doesn't snow there, even though it's in the mountains. And they're like, no, it's in the mountains. It gets cold. But they never said how cold it gets, which is not cold enough. Snowfall is rare in the area. So the ski resort is intended to rely entirely on artificial snow, which will be produced from water pumped 200 kilometers away from the Gulf of Aqaba to Trojena up 2.6 kilometers, which will also fill a 140 meters deep artificial lake to provide all the water for the resort. The lake, by the way, it's a 140 meters deep artificial lake that comes to a right angle.
Yeah, it rocks. It's never going to burst. That weird structure that comes out of the mountain that houses the lake.
Also, I just love they're like, okay, 200 kilometers, 2,600 meters in elevation. We're going to pump this desalinated water up because it has to be desalinated or you can't make snow out of it.
Hey, just double checking before we do this. Everybody on Earth right now has access to clean drinking water, right? I just want to make sure we're doing that first.
Oh yeah,
we had that settled. Is that settled, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, that's fun. That's fine and good. Great. Okay, we should definitely do this then. Nope.
So there are some people where it's still in train.
Okay.
But it'll be fine.
Okay. Great.
Don't worry. We can tick that off.
Okay.
So
great.
using a pipe with a diameter of 1 meter as planned. So that's the other thing. A 1 meter diameter pipe is so big. It's a big pipe.
It's one big pipe.
And they intend to have a 1 meter diameter pipe for 200 kilometers, gaining 2,600 meters in elevation to fill a 140 meter deep gigantic artificial lake with desalinated water from the Red Sea.
Sounds fine.
And that was the plan for years.
Okay.
They were just like, yeah, it'll be fine.
Yeah. Here's the thing is you seem skeptical, but I'm watching the video and it looks pretty cool.
Well, Italian construction group WeBuild announced last year it had signed a $4.7 billion contract to build the lake.
Yeah, they were quoted to saying, yeah, we build that.
Yeah, we'll build whatever.
Yeah, did they send like one of those Italian guys that like look, they watch construction crews with like their hands behind their backs?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I could do that. And then like some guy in Saudi that was like on holiday there was just like, well, I've got the project for you.
Yeah. All right, boys. Why don't you come and stand around the Gulf of Aqaba and be like, they should build a pipe there. But basically, construction hasn't started on that desalination plant that they need to do this, clown show in the desert. And so water is currently transported by truck up the mountain from the sea from a different desalination plant.
And they're still gonna have the games there with the fake snow. But there won't be like a place there yet.
Well,
right? This doesn't look super buildable.
Well, I mean,
like I feel like every time there's an Olympics in a city that already exists, they're like, we can't build it, we can't do it. Like there's always stories like up to like a couple weeks before the thing starts where they're like, oh, this is impossible. Nobody could build anything.
So because there are no permanent running rivers in the Arabian Peninsula, until the pipe is complete and the desalination plant is complete, all water needs to be trucked in. And so you have an idea of the scale. It would take 2 straight years of the pump running at full capacity of 1 meter diameter, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to fill the lake to supply the water for the ski hills.
Okay. What if we got a second pipe in there?
Well, it would only take 1 year.
Okay. Now check this out. 3 pipes.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
What if you just add so many pipes that it takes 1 day?
Yeah,
it's just one Niagara Falls of pipes filling up this gigantic fake lake.
What if we built one pipe with a 5 meter diameter?
Oh,
one really big. Here's the thing, Riley, is I went to engineering school. So this is the sort of stuff they teach you there, is that if it's one pipe and it'll take 2 years, one really big pipe will take like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, of course. All you need is a pipe with a diameter of like a kilometer or so.
Or one really big truck.
Hey, pretty good.
What if we fill a ship up with the water and we take the ship apart and we take it up the mountain.
Okay, all right, Fitzcarraldo.
It's just an idea. I saw somebody do it. I feel like
Yeah, I saw that documentary, The Burden of Dreams.
yeah, my friend Klaus did it, no problem.
guys
You
can
tried
try-
to kill him or anything.
I feel like the Burden of Dreams stuff must happen so often. It happens all the time. All right, so the second major part of the project, the vault. I don't know if you're going to buy this as well. That big like reverse skyscraper that they blast into the mountain.
Uh-huh.
It's also progressing slowly.
Oh,
Really?
that's too bad.
The vault complex, which includes the big three of building the future at Neom: hospitality, retail, and entertainment facilities, right?
Okay.
The only three things that humanity needs, is being built into the mountainside, and according to a person familiar with the construction, requires a, quote, mind-boggling amount of rock to be blasted out. Now, Mattie, you said you went to engineering school, yes?
I did.
Is the phrase mind-boggling often good when used in the context of an engineering problem?
I think that's often. Yeah, I think that sounds great because that's just, sure, it sounds like a crisis or a problem, Riley, but that's just another word for opportunity.
That's right. You know, the Chinese word for opportunity and mind-boggling is just one stroke of difference.
That's right.
Some 3,000 tension cables will need to be driven into the remaining rock walls before construction work can even start, but the contractors can only install one cable per day, meaning at the current rate, the basic structure could take more than 8 years to complete.
Have they tried making the cables bigger?
Yeah, bigger cables, maybe more construction crews. Get 3,000 construction crews. It'll be done in one day. Or, you know, get 30,000 construction crews. It's done in a few hours.
Many hands make light work. Yeah. That's what I'm saying, and that's the sort of thing they should be listening to.
Yeah, the mountainous terrain has been an important factor in the pace of work on Trojena. The road to the ski resort has just one carriageway in each direction. Ah, damn it. Okay, well, there goes my 30,000 construction crews plan. And workers say the steep gradient and sharp turns make it difficult for construction vehicles to navigate at all. And for safety reasons, the road is often blocked to all vehicles, including those carrying workers or construction equipment.
Okay, I got a solution. This is why you have me on, I think, is to talk about this. Yeah. So it's bigger pipes, bigger cables, more construction crews, smaller vehicles.
Oh,
you get everybody on one of those Honda Moto Compactos, the motorcycle that folds up into a suitcase.
I was going to say, what if we hired the Shriner construction company? You know,
what if we got 90,000 Shriners a day? Each carrying one bottle of water. Here's the thing: is they carry one bottle of water with them up the mountain. In the Shriner car, they dump the water into the lake. So that's 90,000 bottles a day right there just to augment the big pipe. They all are wearing around them a belt that is a cable every day. So that's some cable for the cables. And then you've got 90,000 Shriners there every day.
Hey,
you get
Mattie,
2 crews of 90,000 crews. So you get 180,000 Shriners, one at the top, one at the bottom. They alternate 2 days on, 2 days off.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah, this is
where are we going to get enough money to build the giant speaker that's going to play Powerhouse 24 hours a day while this is going on? So
we're commissioning the engineers at JBL to make a flip speaker the size of a mountain, and we're going to fly it in via a helicopter the size of Portugal.
Neom, a representative for Neom, said the project's development, including Trojena, is progressing according to a phased plan that emphasizes international standards, long-term sustainability, and legacy outcomes. Work on Trojena continues, and directed further questions on the status of the Asian Winter Games to the Olympic Council of Asia, which did not respond. Oh boy. The FT was told to direct further questions to the Olympic Council of Asia, which did not respond. That's what you do when your project is going really well. You just say, everything's going fine. Please talk to someone else.
Yeah, and the Olympic Council of Asia didn't pick up because there was very little service in the mountains where they were all walking up with a cable and a bottle of water. They'd all been put to work.
I don't think maybe they've thought about phone service either on Trojena. I'm just going to guess there.
Have you really? This is in the engineering trade. This is what we called back. I mean, I have not been an engineer for like 12 years now. But back in the day, this is you're what we called a negative Nancy.
Is that an official engineering term?
That's an official engineering term for someone who thinks about the problems too much and isn't doing the imagineering that is necessary to imagine your engineering in the world.
Someone who's busying themselves with the protractor of pessimism.
That's right. Instead of using your imagination to think of a place where people can live, work, and play.
See, it's like where people could live, work, and play, and also where you're going to have like top restaurants, but also entertainment and like global brands.
Yeah.
You can't do that in like a normal place. It needs to be like a freak place.
Yeah,
It's like really
world,
weird.
It's a world first. It's a vertical village.
No one's ever done a vertical village before, probably for no reason. So former employees said there were contingency plans for holding the games at Trojena, even if the planned facilities were not ready for 2029, and that the winter games were not reliant on the ski village since the slopes they planned to use were elsewhere on the mountain. But how are you going to get snow on them? How are you going to get the snow there? You need that.
I wasn't thinking about that. What I was thinking about instead of attending a life-affirming experience such as a mountain concert.
Oh, I see.
I'm just reading some of the official copy here.
Were you imagining like watching an AI generated rendering of a woman play a futuristic violin?
Yeah, that's the kind of life-affirming experience that I'd love to experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So people familiar with Trojena insisted it remained feasible. Quote, the difficulties have been magnified by the schedules imposed in the project, but the Saudis are really committed to building something there. Maybe not in the scale they imagined in the first place, but they are undeterred and determined to make this happen in the right way. That means at a level that will allow winter sport to grow in Saudi Arabia.
Okay.
Someone's getting that head cut off as him, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
A pair of glasses skittering across the floor. I have another idea, Riley. You said that the problems have been magnified.
Oh, I think I might know where you're going, and I'm pretty excited by it.
What if we built it very, very small, like a 1 to 60 model of Trojena, and we put it on the mountain? And what we did is then we built the world's biggest magnifying glass, and we carted that up the mountain using only, I'm going to estimate 150 to 195 Shriners, 1,000, to get the magnifying glass up the mountain, put it over the model, and then anyone standing there will look through the world's biggest magnifying glass, and what they'll see is a full-size Trojena.
And crucially, it's going to always have to have a no vacancy sign up. So it's like, maybe next time
full.
you can go.
Yeah.
You can go. And then,
I
perfect.
wanted the world-class wellness.
I wanted to enjoy some global brands, and I was driven by this Shriner all the way up the mountain in Trojena, and now you're telling me that I don't even get to go to the Louis Vuitton store, the one that they put in the vertical village in the ski resort in Northwest Saudi Arabia. I wanted to get killed immediately by an exploding lake while enjoying Christian Dior and the Marco Pierre White's off-brand restaurant. And you're telling me that I cannot die in a way of my choosing.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the exclusive site-specific Breitling watch that is only sold in the vertical village under the mountain, as worn by the AI-generated violin lady, you know?
I had a premonition of how I'm going to die, and I knew that it was going to be a beautiful death. And it involved getting crushed, and I've gone like Cuomo, and it involved getting crushed by the exploding lake. Anyway, look, we've gone a little bit long. More to cover in a few days, of course, but I knew that Mattie would have wanted to hear about Neom, and I could not keep it from her.
It made me really happy to think about Trojena.
to think about the AI generated violin lady, the global brands, the special watch, the impossible lake, the fact that they clearly, nobody involved ever asked the question of not can we hire enough people to do it, but can the people get there to build the thing? Oh my God. It's like there's something so compelling about watching a process where every single major determinative decision made was exactly completely wrong in a very strange way.
Yeah, I'm looking at the interview with the Philip Gullett, who is the glasses man for this particular site. And one of the questions to him in the interview was just, the combination of architectural excellence, natural beauty, and next level luxury at the top of Trojena is compelling. Why has nobody ever done this before?
I don't know. I genuinely don't know. Like, why has nobody built a ski resort in that exact place before?
Why has nobody ever built the exploding lake?
Why has nobody built the world's first exploding lake? That is like, it just genuinely is much better understood as like surrealist art. Like it's like what if you gave a Dadaist $500 billion to just like do some art in the desert? Conceptually, it's much more evil than that in practice, as I always like to remind us whenever we talk about Neom. Anyway, that's all the time I think we have for today. But like, I refuse to be cut short when Neom's on the docket. I will say everything I have to say as soon as Neom is on the subject.
Yeah, it was either the Neom stuff or us pitching Sitting on Business, and what they both had to say.
That's right. So, Mattie, I want to thank you again. Always a delight to have you on the other show.
That was my pleasure.
And to remind everybody to purchase Simplicity, a book I have read in one sitting, and recommend all of you go out and buy it and read it also in one sitting.
Yeah, it's a really good book about how it's actually really simple to build a vertical ski resort.
Yeah,
there actually is a very Neom-y concept in the book. I realized later.
I want to save this for Left Unread. Was any of that at all inspired by Neom?
Yeah, extremely.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Cool. All right. Awesome. We're going to talk about a lot more of that about in a future Left Unread episode. Probably the next one or the next one.
Yeah.
Anyway, by Simplicity.
Listen to No Gods, No Mayors, which is a show I do about mayors with two of my best girlfriends, Riley and November.
Hey.
And it's a very fun show, and you should go to nogodsnomayors.com right now and subscribe to it.
We're going to be talking a little bit more about the details, for example, of what Ingrid Lewis Martin was bribed with.
That's right.
So do check that out. Anyway, we will see you on the bonus episode in a couple short days. Other than that, thank you for listening, and good mayoring to you.
Good mayoring to you. You say it.
Oh, do I have to say it as well? Good mayoring to you.